Welcome, everybody. Today is Friendship Sunday at Unity Center of Norwalk, high above the Ford dealership in downtown Norwalk, Connecticut. And we're thrilled that everybody wanted to be here today to celebrate this day. Because what is this day? Well, they say this is the day that the Lord hath made. Today's the best day ever. Because it can't not be. Today is the day I can choose. Today is the day I can choose differently than ever before. I can choose greater than ever before. Today, this one day, this is the day I have. I don't have yesterday. I cannot choose differently yesterday. I'm not saying you chose badly yesterday or poorly, but you can't choose again yesterday. And there's no such thing as tomorrow. Perhaps someone disagrees. There is no such thing as tomorrow. Let's accept that now. When tomorrow's here, it's today. There is no such thing as tomorrow. That's all in my imagination. And really, yesterday is all about perception. Yesterday's not a reality either. It's just what I'm thinking. It's what I perceive it was. It's what I think it was. But, again, it just lives in my imagination. And if you have a vivid imagination, you can make it great or horrible. But today, right now, we can do something right now. We can do something here, today. As I said, today's talk is called Spiritual Discernment. That I can discern the difference between right and wrong. I don't say good or bad. I don't believe in good or bad. Little g good. Because those are judgments. And bad just limits me. Bad just puts me in a box. Oh, this was a bad thing that happened. No, this was a hard thing that happened. My days are easy or hard. They really are. What I mean by that is they're hard for me to accept or they're easy for me to accept. It's really what it comes down to. Let's simplify it all, our spirituality. Today's an easy day. Today's a hard day. This was an easy event. This was a hard event. And sometimes our best events are hard ones. Sometimes our greatest successes are hard ones. They're just, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do with this. I've known people, they don't know how to accept a loving, warm friendship. I don't know how to accept that in my life because they don't have a history to tell them what to do with a healthy relationship. And so they're trying to bring their old stuff into it, and it doesn't work. And it's like, David and I were just talking about that the other day. For 14 years, a lot of that 14 years, we're trying to bring old stuff that doesn't work into it rather than bring the new stuff and allow the new stuff to flow. Because we are not our past relationships. We are this relationship. And today, we are this relationship. And imagine if we didn't have to bring, that old stuff. Last week I talked about, in the book of Joshua, about... what was that? We will not worship the gods of our ancestors, but we will have a God that we know to be true and know to be honest and know to be more valid and inspiring and loving and kind and generous, so that I don't have to use my past to inform me of this moment, but I can use the presence of God to inform me of this moment. And Kenneth just saying, thank you for being a friend. And so what if in your spiritual discernment you made friends with your past? It's what I've worked very hard to do over the years, very diligently, maybe is a better word. Sometimes it was hard. To make friends with the very things, not even people, but things that I thought were my enemies. Like weather. Anybody here have the weather as their enemy? Ice, snow. Whatever, rain on the day you're all dressed up, humidity on the day you've straightened your hair. You understand? I don't. To make friends with your thoughts, your feelings, that you're not under attack, that I'm not under attack. Spiritual discernment. I'm going to read something to you. Because we're going through the Bible. I decided I'm old enough now and I've done this job long enough. I can actually go into the Bible. And But I can go into it with discernment. I have a clue now on how to explain the Bible metaphysically, because that's what we in Unity do. We use the Bible. We like the Bible. Well, we meaning the Unity movement, not the people in it. Because clearly, how many of you have read your Bible this week? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. There we go. Minority, you're called. And so, if I read this historically, I would run screaming for the hills, because it's horrible. It's just horrible. I mean, it's a bloodbath, right? Especially the Hebrew Bible. It's like, oh my gosh. They're just killing, wiping out towns right and left. The heroes, and these are the good guys that are going in and massacring people. But if I understand it metaphysically, I don't have to fear it. In fact, I can embrace it and really enjoy it a lot. And there are books and websites now. You may have heard of the internet. And it will help to explain what they're saying here, so that we don't, oh, that's too hard for me. I can't read the Bible. I don't understand it. And it's like, you could if you wanted to. Yeah, and there we go. You could if you wanted to. But I'm just going to read a very brief thing here. And it's in the book of Judges. The book of Judges is about discernment. All those judges in the book of Judges are about discerning a new way, a different way, and still falling back on the senses, because that's what so many of us do. We still fall back. We worship what we think and what we feel, and we worship the floor and the sky, and we worship either positively or negatively, but we think it has the final answer rather than spirit within. So it says, in those days there was no king in Israel. Israel technically means peace, or metaphysically means peace, but in those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did what was right in his own eyes. Well, that sounds like these days. That sounds a lot like these days. But it's not those men. It says every man. That means women too. Everybody is doing what they think is right in their own eyes. A few years ago, I was harboring a grudge in my head as I was driving down the highway. I do that. I don't know if any of you do. Did anybody here have arguments with people in the car and you're the only one in the car? Yeah. And it's a great place to work through stuff. But it was a neighbor we were struggling with. At this point, we weren't even speaking. So it was still, now it's totally in my head. And it hit me. They were just doing what they thought was the right thing to do at the time. Oh. And I thought, isn't that what all of us do? We're just always, everybody is just doing what they think is the right thing to do in this moment. In this moment. It may be an insane thought. It may be a horrible thought. But they still think it's the right thing to do in this moment. Even, I can say, oh man, I need to drop weight. But I've got to eat this cookie right now, or I won't survive. I will have a mental collapse if I do not eat this cookie right at this moment. And I am dead serious. It's hysterical, but I'm dead serious here. Anybody who still smokes and they want to, but I can't. Oh, I have to smoke now. I have to yell at this person now. I have to compete with this driver on the highway now. I have to hit send right now. I have to, because I will not survive if I don't. No king. Let me metaphysically tell you what king is. The executive faculty in every person whose life is guided, governed, and directed by spirit. There was no king in Israel at this time, meaning there was nobody guided by and governed by spirit at that time. So everyone's ego was running the show, doing what they thought was the right thing to do, because nobody was really interested in the highest. They were interested in saving their own ego. They were interested in making their misery more manageable. They were interested in the floor. They high interest in the ground they walked on, the food they ate, the body that carried that food around. They were interested in all of that, interested in controlling each other. But to go within and hear the silence was too frightening. It was just too frightening. Because I don't know if any of you can relate to this. Anytime you've resisted meditation, and a resistance to meditation is saying, I don't know how to meditate. Hello, me. Anybody knows how to sit. Anybody knows how to sit. You may not get quiet for more than a moment or two. But in that moment or two, Spirit has every chance to tell you the truth about yourself. And so, never again lie to yourself and say you can't meditate. Yes, you can. You may not do it overly effectively at the beginning, but exercise that meditation muscle. I doubt any of us could walk into the gym for the first time and be lifting 100-pound bench pressing 100 pounds on each side. You work your way up to that. And so, nobody was interested. There was no king at home. No king ruling the country. Now, let's take that on an individual basis. If there's no king ruling my country, which means I'm not willing to surrender and listen to the still small voice of the good that I am, then I'm going to start thinking for myself. And where am I going to get that information from when I think for myself? I'm going to get it from my mother, my grandparents, that stupid Adam and Eve. You know, we can go all the way back. I'm going to get it from the newspapers. I'm going to get it from Facebook. I'm going to get it from crime drama on television. I'm going to get my information from the senses rather than spirit. And so I will not be using spiritual discernment. I will be using egoic judgment and convincing myself that it's true. You know, even someone who kills someone in this moment thinks it's the right thing to do at the time. And I will tell you a wonderful result. I had that particular drive in the car when I was thinking about the neighbor. Now, I still haven't let go of the grudge with the neighbor. But I did have a realization about an old friend of mine who I had not spoken to in quite some time because I had opinions of past behaviors. And of course I was right, but I wasn't at peace. I wasn't living in the love I wanted to live in. I wasn't living in the promises of the kingdom. And I learned about the promises of the kingdom. I studied and I looked for the promises of the kingdom. And one of those promises is peace in the midst of chaos. Is joy, whether anybody else is choosing joy or not. And so, I thought about this old friend of mine, and I thought, oh my gosh, he was just doing what he thought was the right thing to do at the time. And some of my poor behaviors around him, I was doing what I just knew was the right thing to be doing at that time. I can forgive that. I completely let all that past between the two of us go, and I called him. Got on the phone in the car. Yeah, I called illegally. And I didn't have car phone at that, or speaker phone at that time, Bluetooth, I think they called it. I called him and I said, hey, I'm coming into the city and I'm going to teach a class a block from where you work. Would you like to have dinner tonight? He said, I'd love that. And we got together for dinner. And we've been friends ever since. We didn't talk about the past. I didn't give him a contract. You can't ever do that again. Or I can't be your friend. I didn't want a friend like that. I don't want friends that I have contracts with. I want friends that I can love and we can work through things. And so, knowing that this person has certain foibles, and I must too, even though I'm not aware of them, and it's been years now, and we have genuinely enjoyed each other's company. I use spiritual discernment. I would rather like this person than dislike this person. I haven't chosen that for everyone I dislike yet. I'm still holding out for a couple of people to make the past different. Yeah. I'm the only one that can do that. I'm the only one that can make the past different by rethinking it, by seeking the highest mind within me to tell me the truth of what happened. And it's funny that I could let this guy off the hook, but not the neighbor. What's that about? I don't know. I keep saying, though, in my prayers, I am willing to experience forgiveness in this situation, in this circumstance, in this circumstance. Now, some of my conversations betray that willingness. We were talking about before. Yes, I'm willing, but let me go to lunch with somebody and the subject that person comes up. Oh, I'm not as willing as I'd hoped I might be. I'm enjoying more of the criticism and the sensations of the conversation. And that's what it is. I start to get high from the topic. And I'm not going to give up that drug until it wears me down. Until I want the promises of the kingdom more than I want this grudge. More than I want this resentment. Spiritual discernment. I looked these up and printed them out. It was easier than carrying 6 books out here. Spiritual discernment is intuitive knowing of that which is true of God or spirit. You hear that? We all have spiritual discernment within us. And it is the intuitive knowing of what is true. You could say of God or spirit, but it comes down to of what is true. True meaning of what has no opposite. All of us have it within us. We are assured of that. It's why I can get up here and talk about this stuff. I believed it when I came into Unity, and I've proven it true over and over and over again. And then I looked up judgment. And in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, it says that the description of the last judgment, as given in the Gospels, has been used to terrify men and women and thus compel them to unite with the church. But in this day of enlightenment, people are not so easily led or driven by fear. They ask for understanding. When they seek light concerning the judgment, it is given. And they learn that the judgment is all a matter of divine law. They find that for every departure from this law, they must suffer. And I want to be clear here, not because someone in the sky said they have to suffer, but resistance to the law makes us bereft. And again, we think we're the one in charge. Not in some, now, they find that every departure from this law they must suffer, not in some future time of great tribulation, not in a great judgment after death, but in this life, here and now. And so, I ask you to choose this day. What do you want? Would you acknowledge your true desire rather than your temporary one? Would you choose love? Would you choose peace? Would you choose friendship with that which you thought was your enemy? Would you make friends with your addictions so that you may let them go? Would you make friends with the people you thought were your enemies so that you may let your judgments of them go, your misperceptions of them go? Would you make peace with your past, with what your parents did? Would you make peace with your politicians? Would you make peace with your thoughts of separation so that you may know unity? Would you make peace with sickness so that you may know health? Would you make peace with poverty so that you may know wealth? Would you make peace with separation so that you may know oneness? Would you make peace with your bigotry, your prejudice, your misperceptions, so that you may know how you are the same rather than different? And would you live through the discomfort of all of it until it becomes the normal, natural way of life and living one more time? Would you? Would you know all of this for good? Capital G, good, that which has no opposite. These are the questions I ask you today, and now I encourage you to ask them of yourself so that you may once again choose for good. Thank you.